Hi friends, how's everyone doing? Okay, this is episode 1 of History You Should Know If You Live in Nova, okay? We're gonna start with Mr. John Mosby because I know you see him around here, he's everywhere. Who the heck is this guy? You know, you might be asking yourself that. I sure am, seeing his name everywhere. Basically, he's a theater kid, but we'll get there. John Mosby, born December 6, 1833 in Powhatan County, Virginia. Okay, most notable battles are the Battle of Bull Run and the Battle of Peninsular Campaign. He was a Confederate cavalry commander. Cow bummer, but like not really shocking because we are in the South. Known for his speed and elusiveness, he was given the nickname the Gray Ghost. Although he had opposed secession, Mosby enlisted as a private company that would soon be incorporated into the 1st Virginia Cavalry. In February 1862, he was promoted to first lieutenant. He resigned and became a courier. Okay. So he would provide intelligence and information that aided in, most notably, the ride around McClellan during the Peninsula Campaign of June 1862. In July of 1862, Mosby was briefly a Union prisoner before being exchanged. During the course of the war, he would be wounded 7 times and would lose an eye in a carriage accident. But he was resilient, clearly. In early 1863, he was authorized to recruit a group of partisans, okay? But Robert E. Lee, he wanted the horsemen Mosby recruited to be under the command of the 1st Virginia Cavalry, but Mosby preferred operating outside of traditional military structure, and you'll have to remember this part's important. He argued that guerrilla actions would be more useful in the defense of Virginia and the Confederacy. He got permission, so he did it. He was promoted to major, and then eventually rose to full colonel before the war's end. So since his men were not in a traditional army unit, they were able to do more things like that weren't allowed. Okay, they, for instance, would be called together to strike a selected target and then disperse afterwards, making them, you know, hard to run around. And it was just, he was kind of like he was naughty. The ability to strike quickly and then disappear gave rise to Mosby's nickname, the Gray Ghost. This was also most notably used in the title of a television series about him in 1957 and 1958, starring Todd Andrews, and in a 1980s board game based on his exploits. Also, here we are in the theater kid part, he wore a disguise. His primary area of operations were in Northern Virginia, became known as Mosby's Confederacy, and his men raided as far north as Pennsylvania. So he was riding around, I guess is better. Mostly Mosby's Rangers, also called Mosby's Raiders, disrupted supply lines, they captured Union couriers, provided intelligence to the regular Confederate Army, and generally became like a nuisance and a thorn in the side of the federal officers operating in Northern Virginia. So Mosby was a wanted man, okay? So as a partisan, he was devoid of the protection under military law that he would have enjoyed as a member of the regular army, but remember, he wasn't because he wanted to do all that guerrilla stuff, you know what I'm saying? That's a G-U-E, not a G-O-R. On April 21st, just 12 days, after Robert E. Lee surrendered the Army of Northern Virginia, this is 1865, Mosby simply disbanded his Rangers without formally surrendering, just, we're done. Because of his position outside of the accepted military structure, he remained technically a wanted man until pardon in 1866, the year after, by Ulysses S. Grant, with whom he became lifelong friends, okay? This guy really knows how to pick sides. He supported Grant's election in the presidential campaigns of 1868 and 1872, which obviously pissed off a lot of Southerners who did not realize that he had actually asked Grant to pardon, and restore rights to former Confederates during the war. Southerners were further angered by Mosby's refusal to accept the lost cause version of history. That's a capital L, capital C. It's basically the history that attempted to separate slavery from the war. Can't do that. Okay, he was named U.S. Consul to Hong Kong, 1878 to 1885, and as he fought to reform corruption in the Foreign Service. He returned to practicing law, he authored books, toured as a speaker, and he held additional posts within the United States government. He offered to raise a regime, Lord in heaven, during the Spanish-American War in 1894, but was turned down. Okay, so then he died in Washington, D.C. on Memorial Day, May 30th of 1916. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you know more about John Mosby now. His house is right here. Right down the street. It's pretty much just like a Confederate theater kid, you know. And with one eye.